Welcome back. So I rendered now the full sequence so we could have a look. We've been compositing for a while now, and we need to at least have an understanding of what's happening in our image. All right, so our headlights are on. The car is it's okay, I guess. It's working not too bad. Now, what I would like to do is bring some finishing touches to the comp. Mainly, I would like to add some a hint of lensing on the headlight of the car, just to bring it just a bit of accent. I would like to apply a bit of halation, and we will have a deeper look at some of the grading and some of the noise I've added, see if we can refine a bit this. All right, so let's start with the longest section. I'm going to try and create a flare on those headlights. Now, when you hear flare, it is possible that your first instinct would be to literally create a flare node. That's not personally my favorite method, unless it's for a real strong light source like the sun, or for actually those headlights at night, for example. However, I always think that there are how to say more procedural ways to create flaring and lensing, and that's why I'm gonna show you how to do it with Glint node. So just a heads up, the system I'm going to show you will be a bit overkill for the shot we are doing here, because we want an effect which is quite subtle. But what I'm showing you will probably be usable in other conditions where the flaring would be much more prominent, much more visible. So everything I do here, I would probably do on more complex shots with flaring which are much stronger, for example, or if I wanted to match a very specific flare. So it's a fairly, it's not a very complicated system actually. In fact, I think it's really simple, but it should bring us some interesting details in the image, and I would like to point out my methodology. So by default, I would create a glint. Ideally, you would want the glint to be matched to some of the plate that has been shot for the show you are working on. When you work on a film, it's always good practice, for example, to use the template system of Nuke to create a small personal bank of effects which are unique to each film or commercial or short film you are working on, just so that you are matching the cameras which are being used on the show, you are matching the style of the director, and you set like this, you can build this small library which will allow you to cut corners. Right, so let's say I want some glint, and you'll see that it's going to be completely crazy for a while, but I have my reason. So one thing I would like to check before going further, I would like to double check that my bounding box is sound. I'm worried that it would be a bit too large. No, it's okay actually. All right, so let's go back to our glint. So obviously a glint by default is way too strong and it's not really pretty. It has very little photographic qualities. So there are a few things we can do to improve this. One of the things I like to do is to, first of all, remove the tolerance. The tolerance in the nodes of glint is basically, it's an offset under which the node will not affect the image. So for example, by default at 0.5, it means that any pixel darker than 0.5 in luminance will not actually be smeared by the glint node. Generally, I like to put all the tolerance knobs in any node that have them. I like putting them at 0 and just doing some luma keying, selective luma keying of my own before that. So for example, in this case, we don't really need, well, we might need actually, but we literally for now don't need the luma key, but a few things we would need to soften a bit the image, because I think by default it's going to be too sharp. So that's too much. Let's see, like this. There we go. Right. As you see, we are blurring a bit so that the glint would be just a touch softer. And let's see. All right. You know me, I never like having my blurs working all alone. I like to break them up a bit, because after some years working in comp, you realize that there's nothing more obvious than a Gaussian blur. So it's always nice to change a bit the fall off manually. It's just a small pet peeve, I guess. One more thing I would like to do. Okay, so my headlights here are moving across the frame. I would like the headlights to give slight variations in the flare. The reason for that is, well, nothing is perfectly aligned with the lens all the time, and most likely whatever flare you add would be affected by the small vibrations of the car on the road, by the orientation of the car compared to the lens, and so on. So it's good always to, whenever you have a chance, to add some breakup, because it helps removing the synthetic qualities of these nodes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a noise. And this noise, actually, I will keep on the plate, on the screen space itself. I don't need to track it. And I will put it black. And let's see, I know that the values are not that high. All right, so for example, like here we see that it's lowering the screen left eye of the car. Let's go for a smaller pattern. All right, maybe this one. I don't know. It's a bit random, to be honest, but it's okay. We are allowed to be random, and in a way, if we are random, it allows us to give more unpredictable images. Now this glint is really not great, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to start introducing variations in it. So this one, for example, I will do -5 rotation, and I'm going to create a third one at -10. And I will do the same on the other side. I will do one which would be a 5 rotation, and the last one at 10. There we go. So every time I'm making a small offset, applying a small offset. And I'm going to create a blend node. Blend is it's a quite interesting node. It allows you to give more importance to one of the nodes in your mix. You can mix as many nodes as you want, and you will have a list building up in this node. And if I push the number 3, for example, it just means that number 3 is more prevalent than the others. And if I push it even more, as you can see, the others tend to disappear. And you can put negative values, in which case it will start to subtract the node. So, right, so I'm going to leave the blend at these values, and I'm going to obviously start breaking this up, because this is not super great. So what can I do? Well, for starters, I can vary the glints themselves. I can make sure that the glints have different values. So for example, here I'm modifying this specific glint so that its values are its odd rays are a bit longer. And I will take this one, and I will do the same, but in the other direction. I will do a bit smaller instead. There we go. So we have variations. Now, I probably want also to introduce some color variations. Again, it's going to be, in the end, it's going to be really, really subtle, but we just want to have this kind of latitude. At any point, I can reinforce it, I can make it stronger. So let's say I want a ray which is red, or maybe a bit of green. Let's say this, and I'm going to create another one just here, and this one I can make it a bit brighter maybe. Oh, I barely see it, but it's okay, we know it's here. Right, there we go, we have some values here. Alright, so let's say we are happy with this. Now obviously it's too long. The reason why I created the green so long is because we want to have this wide range. The effect in itself is not constrained, but now we're gonna start reducing its size by basically keying it. So I will create a keyer, and by default the keyer doesn't really give us good values. If I look at the alpha, I see that already my values are very clamped here, because by default the keyer is made to clamp between 0 and 1. So you could do different things. You could modify the color space, modify the color curves before, so that they would not, the values of your source would not go over 1. In this case, I will just increase a bit the size of my keyer, and I will push the values, and I will go towards, I think around, well, if you look at the core here, I want this core to not be perfectly white. I want to always have a bit of range in what I'm doing. So it should be around, as you see, if you look at the alpha here, you see it go down, go up, and when it's 1, it's clamped, meaning that you don't have any detail there. But if you let it go, there we go, right? Around 9, around 10, it's fine. So let's do this. Yeah. Let's put it at 10. Up, and I will pre-melt. Now what happens is that I'm starting already to reduce quite intensely the brightness of my image, which is exactly what I want. So let's continue a bit. I think it's, let's take a look at how it looks on the image. There you go. So it's way too strong and way too sharp still. So let's continue a bit. Let's add more breakup. I think it's also a bit saturated, so let's reduce that. Oop. Alright, now it's very subtle and we barely see the hues, but if you are, we know they are there, right? And if you could re-augment, you start seeing them again. So let's see 0.5 for now. We'll see a bit later if we reduce them further. So I'm also going to color it a bit, because my headlights, actually the headlights are white, so that's not too bad. Let's see, I'm going to color them a touch. There we go. I like the bluish hue of those. Alright, and they are still too bright, so let's continue reducing a bit. And again, why not some variations with the noise? Let's go black for this one. And same thing as usual. Let's reduce its size. Alright, so that will be way too small, of course, but let's go to a value. We are starting seeing interesting things happening there. It's gonna be okay, and let's do this. This way again, as the headlights move through the frame, these will catch some variations, will start to live, and it's always a nice detail. Okay, and let's see how this looks first. All right, we're still too strong. Let's analyze our image a bit, and let's see what's happening. One thing I would like to do is make sure that we don't have a lens flare in both headlights. Usually these kinds of flares happen when you really are facing the camera. So what I will do is I will create a small roto node, and I will garbage matte out the screen white headlight. So I will roto it, and I will roto it on the render so it's a bit faster. There we go. If only every roto could be as easy as this one. So it'd be quite nice. Right, so we have our garbage matte here. And let's reduce its value. I want it to be a quarter of any of the others. That's better already. All right. I have a value here. Okay. And one thing I'm going to do is, I think my core is way too strong here. So let me see. Yeah, 12. All right. So these values are fairly high. And yep. Sorry for the little jump. I had to check a few values. So, yeah. My main issue here is this headlight is too strong, and actually I can check a few things, and I think it's here that my values are going crazy, so let me reduce that. There we go. 125, right. So that should be a bit better. And let's go see already what that changes for us down there. Alright, so we have a bit more blurred, that's good. Alright, that's more like it. As you see now, we have actual softness. We have some hue variations, and this one is almost disappearing, so that's good to me. Alright, so let's see. On this image, okay. Still too strong, but that's okay. I want also to animate it, so what I'm gonna do is take a look at my image and see where I could justify having it. So first of all, I would like the effect to be a bit stronger when the headlight is toward the center of frame, at least toward the middle, instead of toward the sides. It's going to be a very subtle difference. But let's start by creating a small radial node. Connecting it just so that I can have a look at this. There we go. And I'm going to create it roughly like this. Okay, fair enough. Let's try that. And we are going to multiply it. I mean, multiply our image by this. Once again, small variations, sometimes barely noticeable, but when everything is put together, it starts doing nice things for us. Okay. Let's continue. Alright, and did I break anything? Yep, I forgot to activate the replace here. There we go. So when you replace your node, whichever node actually you use, which has a replace tick box, it basically takes all the metadata from your input and also the layers which are not part of this output knob. It takes a resolution, which is quite convenient, but it allows you to draw, and that's very convenient for radial, rotos, all these creative nodes which need sometimes an input to be matched properly at the correct resolution. So I recommend using it when you can. Alright, so we have our headlights, and I'm thinking we can do one more layer. So let's try to get going. Let's create a small God rays. Sorry, not a God rays, a glint. And let's try if we connect it here maybe. And this one is going to be a bit smaller. So same thing, length here, okay. 0, and let's just blur it a touch. Right, and this I can plus. There we go. Alright, and I'm going to reduce all that. Whenever you work in additive, the values tend to build up really, really fast, so it's easy to go very bright, but it's okay. Again, we have all the latitude we need to go in subtle ways. Okay, so that's starting to look a bit more natural. It's not too big, it's not too annoying in the frame. It's just a small accent to it's like almost a wink to the camera. So one thing I'm going to do also is I want to animate actually the the headlights, I don't want them to be on all the time. At least I don't want the flare to be there all the time. So let's look at the image. All right, so I want it to be stronger when we arrive next to the camera. And I want it to be strong in general. In general, I want it to be strong when we are in sunlight, actually. I'm going to cheat a bit. As if the headlights and sun were kind of accumulating together. Right, so let's try that. I'm going to create a key here. And let's go a bit forward. And let's say this one will be roughly a third. And we're going to continue. We're going to continue until it goes out here. So around here. Up, and we're going to ramp up. Us here. Yeah, why not? So there you go. And now we can go back down a bit. It's a bit random. It's okay to be random. And now let's push completely until 1 at the end. Right, so now what happens is that my if I frame hold this one, so it would be a bit faster to calculate for now, and put it at frame, so it's big in the frame, we should start seeing that my my clinch should be leaving a bit. Yeah, there we go. We have values changing from one point of the shot to the other. And it's quite subtle. You see it disappear here, that's good. And run back up there. Yeah, let's create a small loop to see it moving. Okay, yeah, that's what I want. Alright. Now one last thing, I think the profile of the glint is still a bit too strong, so I will most likely just create one last glow setup. So let's go, let's create a small glow setup. Took halfway through, alright. And I want this to be a bit brighter for now, because I want these to be, right, I want it to be quite visible. So I will start by breaking up the sharpness first. Right. And now I will start stacking up different glows. Alright, let's continue with that. This one will be at 12. Let's double the values. Let's make it a bit flared. Oop. And this one I'm going to put at 48. And again, most likely, most generally, random or semi-random values. I just try to multiply by 2 or 4 generally my values, and this one I'm going to make very, very faint. Something like that. Yep. Alright, let's see this. Multiply, I'm going to reduce as always the brightness, and I have some kind of a natural feeling. It's just a tiny bit of flaring there, which is nice. Up, and I'm going to plus these two together. So if I look, alright, so I'm adding a bit more light from the because I'm not removing the actual original headlights, but I think I can live with that for now. I'll see later if I want to actually remove it. Let's see on the plate how it looks. And we will probably up. I forgot to remove the frame hold. So let's remove the frame hold. There we go. It's a ghost car. Alright, and it's still a bit too strong, so let's is it though? Yes, I think it is. Let's reduce a bit. Right, so let's see that's what we want. Now we can ideally pre-comb this and that would allow us to have a bit more interactivity. So let's say my flare is done. You know, it's quite subtle. It's just adding a bit of life to this headlight. Let's see if we can refine just a couple of things. So first of all, I notice here on this frame that the noise I've been adding on the windshield is really strong and probably not the right size. So let me make it a bit bigger. So that would be the rate noise, I think, which is a bit too visibly incorrect. I'm going to double its size, and I'm going to lower the intensity of it. There we go. And I'm going to make it really low intensity. There we go. That's a bit more acceptable. The other thing I noticed, and this I noticed before when I was preparing this specific video, when I compare my new render to the old one, I noticed that I've lost a lot of range here, which was actually nice. It helped tie it to the plate. And that's just because when I'm applying the variations, I'm actually removing also brightness. So I will compensate for this. So as you recall, I was applying noise here in the specular part of my shot. And let's see if we can make it compensate for the loss of brightness. As you see, there you go. You see the side of the car which is getting affected quite strongly. So I'm just going to expose this back up. Okay, not too bad. I'm keeping roughly the range, but at least I'm adding some variations. All right, so let's say this is good. Yeah, that's much better. I feel more life here. I'm also going to add halation. So halation you can put in different places. I would say most likely because halation is a post process. I mean, it's a flare. It's a lens artifact. Well, actually, not always. It's actually also the reflection of the light which comes back on the film. So it's a film thing. It's a film back thing. So yeah, let's make it at least living with the other flares. So for that, what I usually do is relatively simple. I take my source and split it out. So we take it here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take the red because I know that the halation tends to like that. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply, and I want this, by the way, I want to add this kind of breakup to these specific values, to these flat shapes, which are quite synthetic when they are not subject to halation. All right, so I have my object here. I will blur it, and these values should remain quite small. So one at 2, and another one at 4, and let's say that this one I keep really small. All right, so now what I've done is just blurring this. I'm going to from it up. So from is just a difference. I'm making the difference of the blur and the original plate. Now what I get is this. This is almost an edge detect. Actually, it is a form of edge detect. And I'm going to grade this down. I'm going to remove some green and most of the blue. I could remove more, actually. All right, and then more blue. All right, and now if I plus this, on top of my image, all right, I have something which starts looking like halation. It's obviously too strong, so we're gonna reduce its intensity a fair bit. Usually, again, like 10% or even less. But you know, we are creating this kind of small halation on the highlight, and that's exactly what we want. So that's good. We're happy with that. And we've done halation. All right. And let's see if we can improve this a tiny bit more. I should pre-comp my script at that point because it starts to be a bit slow. And my computer is not as fast as the ones I have at work. One thing I would like to do still is clean up this shadow. As you may have seen in previous videos, in the very first few frames, I think the 3 first frames of the shot, there we go, we have double shadows here. So I could create another projection setup, and that would be perfectly valid and correct. However, this time, because, well, I can be a bit lazy sometimes, I'm going to work a tad differently. I'm going to just literally and very nastily draw on top of the plate. So, how do I do that? Well, first I check where my elements are, and I think I should be looking at this. There we go. What's happening? We have a doubling of shadows, meaning that when we apply, there we go, when we apply our grade here, it's getting applied to a shadow which is already present in the plate. So, I think I actually already prepared that before, but I'm going to do it again for you. I'm going to, just for these frames, paint out the shadow. And yes, it could be a bit unstable temporarily, but you know, generally for that kind of work, it's okay. So let's see. There we go. My controllers are here. I'm going to split this out, and I'm going to go full screen for a moment. And I'm going to reduce the opacity quite a bit. All right. And now, can I start painting? Yeah. All right. So now I'm starting to paint. When I paint clone, I always try to align to the lines of the shot. So I don't break the lines of the shot. As you see, the shot has a perspective given by the parallax, by the movement, and by simple features of the shot. When you do this kind of work, always try to follow the lines. It's more efficient, and it preserves more of the actual image. So let's do this. All right, and let's say we want to actually check what we are doing a bit. So as you see, we have our shadow here, which we are correcting. And let's see if we can get a proper work out of this. It might end up being a bit dirty. You'll have to pardon me. There we go. It's really nasty, isn't it? All right. Check. Let's rebuild a bit here. Let's see. We have this one. A bit of this. All right. You don't need to be too precise. It's in a corner of the shot, and it's not likely in the handles, meaning that we won't see that that element that much. All right. So I doubt it will be as good as the first photo I did before I was recording. But you know, on the fly, it might actually work okay. So let's see. There we go. And we have a shot here. All right, and let's put the car in front. And okay, the result isn't too bad. I'm going to catch you in the next video.